That's a big statement, and that's a lot of money to come back from. But it's been an amazing period of time.
During that period of time, you had some people, and I really, it's kind of a philosophy that I think the two of us definitely share, and I wrote about it in my book. I don't necessarily believe in an eye for an eye that way.
Yes, you do.
But I do.
I hope you do.
Well, I do. And that, I've read this in your book, when you were at the low, you had people that just championed the fact that you were low. Did they not?
Well, I had people, Montel, that I made, and I don't want to brag about making, but I made these people. I took people that were not rich people. One person worked for government, another one worked for somebody else, not doing very well, to a point where they bought magnificent estates on the ocean and things. And when I needed their help, they weren't there for me. Now one of them needs my help very badly, and I'm having so much fun. It's so fun. So I write about that on the book.
Well,
I believe in an eye for an eye.
Let me tell you, I would be picking up the phone every morning, call them and say, how you doing this morning? All right? Everything okay? I'm gonna lend you some money today and send him a check for 1 cent. That's what I would do if I had to. We're talking to Mr. Donald Trump. The book is called Trump, The Art of the Comeback. And honestly, I mean, I think in about another 5 years, they will call you the comeback kid. Because, I mean, what you have been able to do and accomplish. I want to talk just a little bit more about this comeback, because during that period of time, and the whole country was having problems, and the junk bond market and everybody was talking about it and blaming you for every single bit of it. How do you respond to that now?
Well, I was really taking undue blame. So many people were really in this whole thing with me, and I was a big borrower, and I still am, and I always will be. I mean, when you build buildings that cost $300 or $400 million each, you borrow money to build the buildings, and if the world collapses, then you tell the banks, guess what, folks, we have to meet. And, you know, it just sort of works that way, and that's the way the system has always worked. And I really had a decision to make. I went early. It was probably the best decision I made, because I decided to go to the banks early. And if you know me, I mean, that was a very tough shot on my ego, because I could have held out at least for another year and been with everybody else. So when I went to the banks, it was a little unique, because they weren't used to this. They hadn't seen it. They certainly didn't expect it to me, but I can sort of see what's going to happen in the future. And I saw what was happening with the economy. I saw what was happening with the company. So I called them and I said, problem, and they sort of got a little bit nervous. And then I had a meeting of the main banks, and I will tell you, they were not happy campers. What I did do, though, I said, I want more money. But in return for more money, I'm going to give you something that is going to be incredible. I'm going to give you simplicity, because I have a very huge and very complex company. If I didn't pay that back, and if I didn't pay other monies back, I was essentially saying I wouldn't go through the legal process, which can take banks years and years of turmoil. So they gave it to me, and everything turned out, I mean, to a point where it's so much bigger and stronger now. But I will say, at the time, it was a tough call. If I would have waited another 6 months or 7 months, it would have been totally impossible. Because, as you know, the banks became very illiquid themselves.
And at the same time that all this is going on, the headlines across America say, Donald, he's out there cheating. He just dumped Ivana, left her standing, not a penny to her name, and she called you on the phone looking at your headline saying, the man's broke, the man's broke. And what did she say to you?
Well, she was very concerned. Actually, what happened, it was a little before. I was supposedly very wealthy, although I knew at the time I was in deep trouble when Ivana and I broke up. And she called me on the phone and fought me very hard, and I guess she had 4 or 5 lawyers. And again, we're friends now, so I'm very happy about that. But at the time, it was pretty tough. And when I had the worst day of my life, I would say, was the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times did stories, I think front page stories, that there was just no way. This is around 1991 or something. And Ivana called and said, I want the money now, meaning the money from the prenup. Now, at one point, she was suing for many hundreds of millions of dollars or something, and, you know, because she wanted a piece. And all of a sudden, she wanted the money that was in the prenup, which was essentially $10 million plus a house, but probably a $25 million package, which is not so bad when I'm worth minus 900, okay, giving somebody 25. And I was a little disappointed by that, because I thought she was calling with condolences for the bad press I was getting, and it wasn't condolences.
Yeah, but she's, I want my money now, right? It's like, pay up, homie, because you offered to, we're going to talk, I keep bringing this up, but you got to have to put all this in context. The man is on the bottom, not the bottom, but you were still on the top even when you took the fall.
Pretty close to the bottom.
But the bottom.
In my own mind, I was on the bottom.
That's right. You're separated from your wife. You've been separated. You've been going through all this stuff, trying to make this divorce amicable. And I'm going to talk about that at length, because later on, I just want to talk about how you were able to keep your family, your kids, and your daughter real throughout all that. But he's in the middle of this, and she just called him and says, okay, forget about the offer you just put on the table of $50 million. He had offered to give her $50 million. She said, no, I just want my money. Give me that money you owe me, give it to me now. So you paid up, and she, in a way,
Well, what happened is early on I said, I will give you $50 million right now. No lawyers, no this, no that. This was early on in the process, very early, before it was known that I was in trouble. And I figured $50 million is like a drop in the bucket compared. So what's another $50 million to the banks? So I said, I'll give you $50 million right now, but I don't want any problems. And her lawyer said, absolutely not. And they came back with a higher offer. I said, let me tell you, if you don't take the 50, there's going to be hell to pay. And, you know, she sued for years, actually, a couple of years, and in the end got 10. Plus, although I will say she did very well. She got 10 plus a house.
I'm going to talk about
We should all do so well.
Let me tell you, wait, did she do well? She got $10 million in cash. She got $350,000 a year for the rest of her life, whether she gets married or not. She can be living with another man, and he's still paying for his socks. She got that. She got a big house up in Connecticut. But
actually, the 350 ended, fortunately. But she got $10 million, and she got, for a number of years, $350,000.
Oh, that's right, because she made
That's stupid, I'm not.
Oh, no, but she made a deal with you to never write about you or say anybody.
She sort of said that, but I'm not sure that stopped her.
All right, she got a house, she got some money, but she made out like a bandit. Let me take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the properties that you own. And I'm going to get to the ladies, because I'm just touching on it right now. But we're going to get in a little bit deeper about ladies. And I want to know, what kind of woman are you looking for now? Because
I don't think I know myself. That's my
you?
problem. No,
well, you know, you ought to come back.
Would you please give me some advice?
I can help you. Wait. Now, you know the Montel Williams Show, we do set up very wealthy people on dates every now and then. And this coming New Year's Eve, we do a New Year's Eve show. I could have you back as the most eligible, richest bachelor in America. I'll get videotapes, hundreds of videotapes from women all over the country. Nah, okay, all right, we'll be back right after this.
I'll be back.
We're talking today to Mr. Donald Trump, and we're looking right now at something called the Woolman Rink. And this was a project that the city attempted to do, for 10 years and couldn't pull off. And then
they could not get it built. It was pretty sad. It was a big scandal in New York that they could not get it done. It was under the Koch administration, and they were just couldn't build the ice skating rink. It was a disaster. So it was closed for 10 years. It was open and very successful, and then it was closed for 10 years for repairs. And I got tired, and I said, look, this is ridiculous. I'd like my kids to be skating maybe before they grow up. And we did it. I built it in 3.5 months.
3.5 months. It's a wonderful gift, if you will, for the city.
I've always been very proud. In a way, I've gotten more credit for that, which is a no-story building, than I have for some of my very tall 70 and 80-story buildings. It's sort of amazing, but it's been a great success.
One other building that you've now taken on is 40 Wall Street. This is maybe your baby, is it not?
Well, it's become my baby. It's a great building. It's 72 stories, 1.3 million square feet, and it was virtually vacant. And I would say as of next week, it'll be 100% occupied. It's called the Trump Building now, at the Trump Building at 40 Wall Street, and that helped it. And there's a picture of it. But it's a great building. It's one of the real classic buildings in New York.
But everybody thought at the time that you did this, everybody else was taking tall skyscrapers like this and turning them into apartment buildings.
Right.
And you decided to make it a business building.
Well, I wanted to go counter to the cycle, and everybody was going residential, and I wanted to say, look, I have a great building, I have the best location, probably the most beautiful building in the city, and I own the Empire State Building, but I would say that this is actually maybe the most beautiful building in the city, 40 Wall Street.
What made you decide when you were 10, 15 years ago, I think I'm going to buy that building?
I've always admired the Empire State Building, perhaps more than any other landmark in New York, and it's just magnificent, as you can see. There's nothing like it. And it represents New York, I think, more than any other building, the Empire State Building. And maybe it's from a distance, maybe it's every shot seems to be with the Empire State Building. And I had an opportunity a couple of years ago, and I was able to grab it.
Okay, and how about the Trump Tower? It's another one of the buildings that has now become a landmark in New York.
Well, Trump Tower is probably my favorite because I built it. You know, it's one thing to buy something and make it beautiful and all of the other things, but Trump Tower is really probably my favorite because of the fact I created it. It's in the best location, 5th Avenue and 57th Street, right next to Tiffany's. And it's become, you know, it's just really an icon. I think that it's probably the largest tourist attraction in New York right now.
Absolutely. I believe it is. If you walk by the front of that building, you can't even get near it and go in. You were doing something on the west side that I don't think a lot of New Yorkers know about, but a lot of people in the country do not know about. You're getting ready to move, after you finish building Trump West Side, you're going to move the West Side Highway. Is that correct?
Well, I believe we are. We're fighting for that. We're fighting for that right to move the highway actually under the job so you don't see it and create a beautiful park. but I'm building the largest job ever approved by the New York City Planning Department, and it's 5,700 units of housing along the Hudson River and a lot of other things, shopping and commercial and other things. But it's a huge project. Those are the first two buildings that are right now under construction, but it's going to be one of the really amazing jobs.
A lot of us, I mean, we look into our backyard and think about putting up a shed, you know what I mean, just to put the lawnmower in. You drive down, I've been in the city myself now since 1991, into 91. I've driven down the West Side Highway. I looked at that hole in the ground, that dirt, you know, and I drove by there a couple times. I thought, you know, that'd be kind of a cool place, you know, put a baseball field or something. You drive by and build a city. Well, how does your mind even go near this?
Well, I don't know. It's just what I do. It's just like you're so good at what you do, and I look at your ratings, and your ratings are through the roof, which is really true and really amazing, and he's terrific. And, you know, it's what you do, and I do what I do, and I do it well, and I'm very happy about it.
Absolutely, I would be. And then, but not everybody's always happy with you when you do things like build big cities or take over landmark pieces of real estate in places like Palm Beach, Florida.
I've heard that, yes.
Yeah, I heard about that myself. I don't know if you know this, but Donald bought a estate. It was an estate when you purchased it, called Mar-a-lago.
Correct.
What made you do this?
Well, Mar-a-lago is probably the greatest estate in the United States, or even in anywhere North and South America. There's a picture of it, and it's truly magnificent. It was built by Marjorie Merriweather Post, who in the 1920s was the richest woman in the world, General Foods and Post Cereals, and her husband, E.F. Hutton, who was the greatest financier in the world. And they built this house, which probably cost about $20 million from 1920 to 1928.
And it's about $100 million
which
in today's
is, yeah,
figure.
today it's just, I guess you couldn't do it today. And it's truly an amazing place. And I saved it. I mean, it probably would have been taken down, and they would have subdivided the land. And I'm really honored. It's one of my greater achievements, because there is nothing like Mar-a-Lago.
But people in Palm Beach weren't very happy with you coming in and doing this. You turned it into a club.
Well,
right?
they weren't happy with the concept of the club. They liked me saving it, but, you know, keeping that house would cost maybe $3 million a year just to maintain it as a regular house. And they would have liked me to have done that, and I didn't like that concept too much. And what I've done is really made it into a very successful club. It's called the Mar-a-Lago Club, and it's right smack in the heart. I mean, it's the Trump Tower location, the Tiffany location of Palm Beach, as you know, and it's truly an amazing place.
Absolutely. Let me take another break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about some of your philosophies, especially when it comes to things like the legal system in America and the way it works, because that also will lead us into talking about some of those past ladies in your life and the legal issues you've had to deal with them. We'll take a little break, and we'll be back right after this. The book is called Trump, The Art of the Comeback. It's on bestseller lists all over the country, and I know it's going to stay there for quite a long time. This paragraph in this book was something that I tell you, I took to heart. I love it. I think that I'd love if I get an opportunity to do what I'm going to do by the end of this year, and let's go testify before Congress. I'll ask you to come along with me to do this, because we need to change laws in America about one issue, and it's called litigation. Litigation in the United States has gotten totally out of control. It has actually become an accepted business practice for people to use the court's time, money, and energy in order to affect deals, break up deals, and receive money unjustly. The simple answer is this: the loser pays all costs related to a case, including, but not in no way limited to, the legal fees of the winning party. If we initiated that today, you would find that the justice system in America would all of a sudden just free up. They'd start doing what they're supposed to do, other than handling all the garbage cases that are brought before them. You believe very strongly in this.
Well, it couldn't be simpler. I mean, it would work immediately. I would say 80 to 90% of the litigation would be stopped. The judges would be free to do their job. I mean, you have cases right now. You have great judges out there that can't even function. They have so many things coming at them. You have cases now going on for 20 years. I have one case that's actually lasted for 20 years, almost 20 years. And it's just, I was a young man when it started, and now, you know, I mean, frankly, most of the people have died having to do with the case. Most of the people on the other side have died. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I thought something was really funny, though.
The lawyers haven't died, however.
Their sons have taken over the businesses, right? There's a paragraph in the book where you wrote about a law firm that sent you a bill for $5 million for about 4 or 5 months, or what was it, for years worth of work?
Well, for a number of different things, but they sent me a bill for $5 million, and I went nuts. And I actually settled it for about $250,000, and I wasn't even happy with that.
But when you say you settled it, you looked at the bill itself, and there were gross over-exaggerations of charges and all kinds of things in this bill, correct?
Well, it's always tough when they start billing and they have 24, one lawyer worked 24 hours a day for nine days. And if you look in Guinness, I think physically it would be impossible. So this guy was a really unique guy. The answer to the whole mess is simple. If somebody sues you for no reason, let the loser pay, including your costs. And you know what? Nobody's going to sue.
Boom. It'll stop. Very simple. Well, I said we were going to talk about those women in and out of your life, but let's talk about that litigation for a second. You wrote what would be considered a cast iron prenuptial agreement before you and Ivana were married, correct?
Correct.
She had lawyers that she was able to select herself to help her go through that process, right?
That's correct.
She signed a document. The document she signed said, oh, whatever it was, if the two of us ever shall part our ways, and I get this, I get this, I get this, I get this. Everybody agreed to that document before you walked down the aisle, right?
That's correct.
Then as soon as you decide it's over, not you, but the both of you decided it was over, she tries to sue you. And she sued you 3 or 4 times,
Well,
correct?
actually, she signed 4 documents because we amended it as time went by, and she actually signed 4 of them. And it was too bad because she said, like, you know, she didn't know what she was signing. She didn't speak English that well.
Yeah, she didn't speak English, but she could read that checkbook number, couldn't she? Not that I'm messing.
You know what?
But
She's terrific,
Yeah.
and I really mean it. I mean, she's terrific, and she was not a happy camper, and it didn't work out so well. But the fact is, she did sue, as you know, as everybody knows, and the agreement held up in its totality. So that's the good news. The bad news is you have to spend money while they waste time on lawyers suing. And, you know, we'll see what happens.
But there's not bad news. I have been around, Donald, when you've been with your daughter, Ivanka, and I will tell you that that young lady, I've got a daughter of my own who's 13 years old, and I've seen children with their parents, and she looks at you with the utmost of respect. And forget all the things about whether or not it's a spoiled lady, and I don't think she is, and all the things that people say about her. This young lady looks at you. I've been near her and near you together, and when you turn your back to shake somebody's hand and talk, you see a daughter who is very proud of her father. How were you able to maintain that kind of relationship with your daughter when her mother is trashing you the way she was in the press? And I know you don't want to say bad things about Ivana. Let's not talk about it, but that got ugly, Donald. I mean, I'm watching, I'm looking in the papers, I'm reading it. Every opportunity she had to call you something, some name, it was written in print. Every word supposedly she said or things that she didn't even supposedly say were in print. How were you able to maintain your relationship with your kids?
If you keep talking, I won't like Ivana.
No. But I mean, honestly. And then I look
Well,
at your kids and you with your kids, and your kids seem to get through that. Now, how were you able to do that?
Ivana was very tough on me during this time, and she'd go on shows and she'd say how, you know, she had to fight for survival and everything else when I'd given her many millions of dollars. And you know, fortunately, all that's worked out now, and we're really very happy together in the sense that we get along very well together. Ivanka has turned out to be virtually a supermodel, and she's just 15 now, just turning 16. She just turned 16, but she's an amazing-looking girl, and she's a beautiful girl, and she's a smart girl. I have 3 other children that are absolutely spectacular also. I mean, I just have 4 great kids, and they're all very equally important to me.
But when it comes to a daughter, and this is something that, forget the fact that you're a billionaire, anybody can relate to this who's going through a divorce today. A father and a mother start to split, it gets ugly, the kids will side with the parent that they're with. And at that time, Ivanka was with Ivana. How did you maintain that relationship?
It was an amazing thing with the kids. They really are bright and pretty tough, I guess, in their own ways. Now, Tiffany was too young to know in terms of what was going on and all at the later date, because right now we're at a stage where perhaps something's going to happen with the Marla thing, and I just don't know. But Tiffany's at an age where she's so young that hopefully she doesn't see what's going on. The other kids were much older when I left, and it was amazing, but they really kept equilibrium, and they are just terrific.
They knew the truth, I guess.
And I think they knew the truth, yeah.
Okay, all right. Let me take a little break, and when we come back, let's talk about Marla, because that's one that you're waiting to see whether or not the news drops again, aren't you?
I'm always waiting.
Always wait. Let's take a break. We'll be back right after this. This book was written at a very delicate time in my relationship with Marla. And in order to protect myself against a legal battle, particularly against what Ivana did when I was forced to spend a great amount in legal fees in order to win, I took certain precautions. I added a clause to my contract with Marla that states, in effect, that if she protests this prenuptial agreement and loses, she has to pay my legal fees. Now, your marriage to her was 3 years long, correct?
That's
3
correct.
years. And you didn't write it like you did in this book about Ivana's settlement. You didn't put the information about what was in the prenup for Marla. Can you just tell us what's in the prenup for Marla?
Well, I really can't, but I can tell you that I learned a lot from the whole incident with Ivana. And it just, really, I think that lawyers are, we already discussed, and I think that, frankly, the lawyers, we have to protect ourselves against the lawyers. So if I was going to advise anybody on a prenup, I would put that clause. And essentially, that also is loser pays.
Loser pays. And now you're not worried. I mean, I understand the papers are at least claiming that this is all amicable and the two of you are getting along fine. I would wonder that with the size of a payment that I've read about in the newspaper, she should be pretty happy. 3 years worth of living with you gets X numbers of dollars. I think she'd be I might live with you for 3 years. I don't know. No, but I mean, she should be really happy with the settlement that she's gotten.
Well, I hope she's going to be happy.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Yvette, and I would like to ask you, do you reveal in your book the secret as to how you made it so successful again?
Oh,
well,
we're
that's
gonna talk
really
about
what
that
the book is, and Montel understands because he really did read the book. I'm amazed at the detail of the questions that he's asking, actually, and impressed. The book is really a book on how to be successful or how to come back from adversity. And there are women chapters in the book and all of that, and I think that, for instance, I discussed that women, in my opinion, are much more aggressive than men and sexually much more aggressive than men, and Montel wouldn't know about that, but
Wait, right here it's saying, but you also say women have one of the great acts of all time. The smart ones act very feminine and needy, but inside they are real killers. The person who came up with the expression, the weaker sex, was either very naive or had to be kidding. I've seen women manipulate men with just the twitch of an eye or perhaps a body part.
that is true. Yes,
you were pretty candid about women. Yes, ma'am.
Hi. It's hard to picture you coming home after slaving over your billions every day and sitting over a hot computer or a pencil and paper writing this book. Did you have help with it? What inspired you to do it? How
Well,
did
I
you go
did.
about
I
it?
did have help, but it's written very much in my own hand. I really felt this was an important book. I did 2 other books. I did The Art of the Deal and Surviving at the Top, and I love The Art of the Deal, and I never really could focus much on Surviving at the Top because I owed billions of dollars. The last thing I cared about was a book, although they both went to #1 on every list and the New York Times bestseller list. So I really wanted to write this book, and I very much wrote it myself.
There you go. Yes, sir.
What advice would you give to young people maybe entering the business world today?
Well, I think the most important thing is to follow what you like. If you love it, if you like it, and I guess maybe the word like isn't strong enough. You have to love it. If you love it, you're going to probably be successful. If you love it, you're going to work hard because you love what you're doing. I love what I do. But if you love it, you're going to make it. So really make sure that you like what you're doing.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I have a question. President Clinton, the Democratic administration, friend or foe?
I think he's terrific. I think he's taken more abuse, and I think he's terrific. And I think his wife is terrific.
And she's in the book, but you know, that's an interesting question. A man who achieves what you have achieved can change things the way you do. Do you have any political aspirations whatsoever?
I think I'm too honest to be a politician.
No, but wait a minute.
I really do. I think.
But wait a minute. Then people say that to me. I mean, honestly, when I was in high school, in my high school yearbook, it said that I'd be the president of the United States in the year 2000. I worked in the military, did a whole bunch of stuff trying to achieve that as a goal. And I often thought that because politics was so screwed up, I'm not going to get involved, but it takes a guy like yourself to change the political world.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we're doing so great as a country right now, and with all the turmoil and everything else, and I really think Clinton's a tremendous guy because I don't think anybody could take the kind of abuse he's taken every day, every hour. There's always something, and I think he's terrific.
There was a question a lot of people have asked, and I didn't want to give this away till the very end of the show because in the opening of the book, and I don't want to say this because I'll tell that people will just buy the book, read the first 2 pages, and stop reading. But Donald does have in here Trump's top 10 comeback tips. And I think we'll talk about those. Let's touch on them just a little bit when we come back. We'll take a little break and we'll be back right after this. Yes, sir, you have a question.
Yes, my name is John Finch. I'd like to know the recent flap about Arlington Cemetery. What do you think about that deal?
Well, I think it's terrible. I feel very badly for the family of the man, to be honest with you. I think it's just terrible how it happened. And I guess if he could be looking down and seeing what's happening, he would not be a happy camper right now. But it is a shame.
Absolutely. You know, in your book, you do talk about your top 10 comeback tips. Number 1 on the list, it's going to surprise a lot of people, is play golf. Well, you said that for a reason.
That's really a little bit, a lot of people have questioned that, and golf is really something that can be superseded by other things, but I found that golf, you get to know people on a golf course, you get to relax on a golf course. For me, it's been very good, but sports generally, keeping yourself in shape, playing sports, I think it's terrific, and it really is important for this.
Well, you made a comment in your book about seeing Jack Nicklaus one time and saying to him, you know what, I've made as much money or more money than you've made out here, and he didn't get what you meant.
Well, really, I've made a lot of money playing golf, and I've made it because of the fact that I've developed relationships on a golf course that really it supersedes having a lunch or getting together with people for a dinner.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Hi, Donald.
Hi.
As someone who travels around a lot, is there one place in particular that you feel more comfortable or like to be?
Well, I love New York. I think New York is so great.
I gotta get through the list. So number 2 is stay focused.
Well, that's
Stay
a really
focused.
important one. I mean, I frankly, I've hit over the years before I had my difficulties, I just hit home run after Grand Slam home run. And I started taking it for granted, and I was going all over the world, and I was having a lot of fun, and really I was not focused around maybe the middle to the end of the 80s. And lots of bad things started to happen, and I had to either get back to work quickly or I would never have been on your show, unless I was maybe an example of how not to do it. So,
Okay.
So focus is a very important thing, and you really have to stay totally focused.
Number 3, be paranoid.
Always keep your guard up. Keep that guard up, because people are out there. We're no different than the lions and the tigers in the jungle. Keep the guard up. There are people out there to get you.
Number 4, be passionate.
You have to love what you do, as per the question before. I mean, you just have to love what you do. If you don't love it, you're not going to be successful.
Number 5, go against the tide.
Well, on occasion, that can be a very dangerous one. I mean, you have to know what you're doing, but going against, I guess a good example of that would be 40 Wall Street. I went commercial when everyone else was going residential, and it turned out to be a huge home run. But you really have to know what you're doing to go against the tide. But going against the tide oftentimes will give you the biggest win.
You know, I'm going to tell you, every single one of these things that you've said so far are really tenets that I place in my life. I mean, I think I'm probably the biggest go against the tide on television that there's been in the last 15 years. Because, you know, when I read this, I was reading this thing about this, and one of the points that jumped out in my brain was the fact that the people who first went out, I took the show to L.A. to sell it myself. I didn't have an agent, didn't have a manager, didn't have anybody coordinating my sale. I went out there to do it myself and sat in a room with people. And I had somebody look across the table at me and said, do you honestly think that America's ready for a bald-headed black man in their afternoon in their living room every day? And I said, let's go against the tide. And I bet you they are. And bingo, bango, we're still here. Let me take a break and we'll talk about the other 5 when we come back. We'll be back right after this.
Are you ready to confront the former lover who betrayed you? If so, call us at 1-800-MONTEL-2. That's 1-800-MONTEL-2.
The book is called Trump, The Art of the Comeback, and I've given you 5 of his top 10 comeback tips. If you want to know the other 5, buy the book. That's what you have to do. I'm going to tease you that way. Because there's a question I have to ask you. 1, what were you like as a child? Everybody's written about you as the adult, but who was Donald Trump the child?
Well, I was sort of difficult. My parents actually sent me to a military academy, New York Military Academy, because of the fact that I was very difficult in school. So for all of those folks that have difficult children, it doesn't necessarily, not that I turned out so great or anything, but it doesn't necessarily mean so bad. I mean, I was rambunctious, I had a lot of energy, and I was a good student.
Check him out right there.
But very difficult, according to my mother and father, very difficult.
And then you also talk about in this book, and I thought it was very interesting, and it's associated with what made you finally get off the pot, so to speak, and make a decision about divorcing Ivana. But there are events that take place in the world that affect you deeply, like the crash of the helicopter that had 3 of your partners on it.
Right. I had 3 great people that worked for me in Atlantic City, and they ran my casinos, and they were incredible, and they we were up for a Sugar Ray Leonard press conference at the Plaza Hotel, where Sugar Ray was fighting in Atlantic City, and unbelievable. They went down in a helicopter. They rented a helicopter, and just to talk about fate, they could have waited for my helicopter to come back, but they wanted to go a little quicker. They actually could have taken another helicopter. I mean, there were lots of different choices, but they wanted this particular helicopter, and it went down, and it had a huge negative impact on me in terms of life. Absolutely.
And made you make some decisions that day.
Well, it did. It made me make some decisions, and it was a tough time.
And another one was the deranged killer who walked onto the train, the subway, in New York. That also, when that happened, made you make a decision about actually getting off the pot again and getting married. Because I heard Marla had a gown on her back, following you all over the world, going, when we get married, when we get, you weren't going to do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, it really showed how fragile life is. There's no question about that. You're going to work, and you're on the train, the Long Island Railroad, and all of a sudden you have somebody with a machine gun shooting everybody, and it was a terrible thing, and it made me realize very much, I don't know why, but made me realize how fragile life can be.
And then that made you decide to go ahead and get married.
It made me decide to do a lot of different things.
And now, I mean, in that, so if events take place in the world, do those events trigger responses by Donald Trump?
Well, I think they do. I think they should trigger responses for anyone. I mean, there's so many tragedies. You look at the other day with hundreds of people killed with a plane, a military cargo plane in Russia going down in a town, and so many different tragedies. You turn on the news, and it really does make you feel rather insignificant. But, you know, life is sadly what you do while you're waiting to die, but we have to have a good time while we're doing it. And I really believe in it.
Absolutely. Let me take another little break. We'll come back. We'll get the bottom line. The book is Trump, The Art of the Comeback. I'm going to tell you that it's not a book about just finance. It's a book about personal perseverance and overcoming obstacles. That's what it's about. And I will tell you, if you read this, and we've talked a lot about this man's money and what he's done, forget about the money. It's just a person who has persevered. It takes hard work to get to where he is. Nobody handed anything to him. And I applaud you for what you're doing, because it's a fine example. Fine example. We'll be back right after this. The analogy of boxing being kind of a little microcosm of what life is about. And a lot of people don't understand it because they think it's such a brutal sport. But life is brutal. Right, and, you know, sometimes you may think you're winning in a fight all the way up to the last second. You blink for one moment and you're down.
That's right.
And that's how you keep yourself from going down.
You have to just keep watching. You have to be, you know, as I say, you have to be a little bit paranoid. You have to watch, and you have to really focus.
Focus. Well, you're staying focused. I hope you make another $9 or $10 billion. But do me a favor if you do. Put about $8 million of it into an annuity account.
Always
and 20 years from now, you could pay for every child in America to go to college.
Not a bad idea.
And more important than the buildings to me and all those other things, the legacy that you could leave 20 years from now when every American high school student graduates and knows that Donald Trump paid for my future and the future of America, Bill Gates wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Join us for the next Montel Williams Show. Read the book. Read the book.